Drinking a double espresso when you are sleep deprived is the physiological equivalent of whipping a dying horse. You're forcing a depleted cell to spend energy it does not have, driving it deeper into a survival oriented cell danger response. What if, instead of whipping the horse, we actually refueled the engine? The latest clinical trial, published in Nutrients in April 2026, demonstrates that a single oral dose of creatine monohydrate can directly cross the blood-brain barrier under stress, bypassing the sleep gate block and rescuing logical processing, language speed, and cognitive vigilance by up to 12% in just one sleepless night. This isn't stimulation, this is targeted bioenergetic safety.
And welcome back to the Health Optimization Medicine Podcast. Your clinical team here today is Dr. Alan Bookatz, Chief of Emergency Medicine and Health Optimization Medicine Physician, Dr. Jup Kuipers, Practicing General Medicine in Amsterdam and Health Optimization Medicine Doctor, our founding pioneer, Dr. Ted Achacoso, founder of Health Optimization Medicine in Practice, and myself, Dr. Scott Sherr, a board-certified internist and Health Optimization Medicine Doctor as well. So today, your clinical team is going after one question. Can a single dose of creatine monohydrate rescue a sleep-deprived brain? In the next 25 minutes or so, you'll get the cellular mechanism, the clinical protocol, and the one thing most practitioners get wrong about it. Let's go.
Welcome back, everybody. Let me put the clinical question on the table. Can we bypass the cognitive, neurochemical, and neuroinflammatory costs of sleep deprivation with a basic and super cheap cell substance instead of central nervous system stimulants? Speaking for myself and all of those shift workers that work overnights and have to cycle, parents, high performers, we all know that sleep deprivation isn't optional. We just need to get the job done here. So the standard answer has always been go to our standard stimulants, caffeine, modafinil, or worse. So as health optimization practitioners, we ask a different question. Functional medicine focuses on pathogenesis, right? That's hunting for the root causes of disease, like chasing adrenal fatigue or neurotransmitter depletion once the patient's already crashing. Health optimization medicine focuses on salutogenesis. These are words you're going to continue to hear here. The root cause of health and cell energy. Root cause isn't enough if the root question is still disease. What we want to know is, how do we hold the cell's energetic dynamic equilibrium in real time, even when something like sleep loss is threatening it?
Beautifully put, Alan. Let's extend that to contrast preventive medicine and health optimization medicine. Traditional preventive medicine is still disease-centered. It seeks to prevent disease, like advising shift workers to sleep more to prevent long-term cardiovascular or diabetic risk. So prevention is still about preventing disease. Health optimization medicine, on the other hand, is about optimizing health, and any disease prevented is a beneficial side effect. In home, we optimize health at a cellular level. When sleep debt occurs, we just don't wait for the system to break. We step in with the right substances, biomolecules natural to the body, actively to preserve optimal physiologic states and peak biological quality. Yup, take us to the actual science that dropped recently. What did this new 2026 study show us?
Thank you, Ted. The study we're talking about was published in the Journal of Nutrients on April 10th this year, 2026, titled Single Dose Creatine Reduces Sleep Deprivation-Induced Deterioration in Cognitive Performance. So the researchers, they randomized 29 healthy subjects in a double-blind crossover trial, and they subjected them to 21 hours of sleep deprivation, administered a single lower oral dose of 0.2 grams per kilogram of creatine monohydrate or a placebo. And what they found was groundbreaking. The creatine group showed a mitigating effect against cognitive decline, showing up to 12% improvements in logical and numerical reasoning, language-related processing speed, and the psychomotor vigilant test, which measures sustained attention. Interestingly, female participants benefited significantly more than males in logic, processing speed, and vigilance. This builds on the landmark 2024 study by Gorgi Nejad et al., published in Scientific Reports, which used a higher dose of 0.35 grams per kilogram and utilized 31P magnetic resonance spectroscopy to show the acute creatine loading stabilized cerebral high-energy phosphates, specifically phosphocreatine and ATP. And prevented cellular acidification in the brain by halting the drop in brain pH.
Well, let's pause here, Yup, for a second, because as an internist, this is incredibly fascinating. Under normal non-stress physiologic conditions, the blood-brain barrier is highly restrictive to creatine. The brain synthesizes its own creatine endogenously via AGAT and GAMT enzymes. Getting peripheral creatine into the brain typically requires a loading phase of 20 grams a day for a week. But what this research reveals is that the sleep deprivation is not just being tired. It is acute bioenergetic stress that disrupts blood-brain barrier permeability and increases the activity of the SLC6A8, the sodium and chloride dependent creatine transporter. The acute stress opens the window for a single low dose rescue.
Yeah, and Scott, that tracks like with what we see in acute trauma. Under sleep deprivation, the brain's microglia, its resident immune cells, they shift into this defensive inflammatory posture, and the astrocytes that feed neurons start failing to move lactate where it's needed. So the frontal lobe, the most energy hungry part of the brain and the seat of our executive function, it runs out of ATP and it tips into that cellular acidification that Dr. Yup was talking about because it's stuck on running onto that anaerobic glycolysis. I think of it like when we're doing heavy weightlifting, we're going into anaerobic exercise. It's the same thing, but happening in the brain. But we give it creatine and it doesn't just sit there as a buffer. It ends up becoming an immediate ATP donor through the creatine kinase reaction. And it goes ahead and it converts that ATP back to ATP. And then that signals biochemical safety to the cell that there's abundance of energy and switches off that inflammatory cell danger response.
Exactly, Alan. And this is where biochemistry matches our clinical metabolomics. In the brain, ATP is not just a currency of energy, it is a fundamental safety signal. The cell danger response teaches us that when extracellular ATP is high, it binds to purinergic receptors, signaling danger and locking the cell in a state of defense. By providing creatine, we allow the cell to maintain intracellular ATP pools, preventing the leakage of ATP into the extracellular space. This maintains cellular balance and orchestration. We are effectively telling the brain you are biochemically safe even when you have been awake for 21 hours. Scott, how does this translate into clinical practice? What does the actual protocol look like?
The protocol is elegant because of its simplicity and accessibility. It is literally a 1 cent solution. Dr. Ted's fond of those. Based on the 2026 nutrient paper and the 2024 scientific reports data, the therapeutic window for acute brain rescue is the following. So dosing, a single oral dose of 0.2 to 0.35 grams per kilogram of creatine monohydrate. For a 70 kilogram or 154 pound adult, that equates to about 14 to 25 grams of pure creatine monohydrate. Let's talk about the timing here. So take this single dose approximately 3 hours before you expect to hit your acute cognitive stress window or overnight shift. The metabolic and cognitive effects peak at 4 hours and last up to 9 hours. What's the carrier here? Well, dissolve the creatine in warm water or a warm electrolyte solution. This is critical because creatine is highly insoluble in cold liquids. I didn't know this until recently, actually. And undissolved crystals are what cause gastrointestinal distress and cramping. There's also cofactors you have to think about here. So to maximize cellular uptake, combine this with clinical metabolomics tracking. Ensure your basic bioidentical cofactors, specifically magnesium, which stabilizes the ATP creatine complex, and B vitamins are optimized. The Health Optimization Medicine Conference is happening. 2 days of events, October 2nd and 3rd, Chicago, Illinois at the Drake Hotel. CMEs available to practitioners who need them, just 150 people, with amazing speakers on the cutting edge of health and wellness. This is a community. It's not your average conference. If you're interested, go to homehope.org and save 25% on your ticket by using Conference25 at checkout. I hope to see you there.
Let's now give our listeners their Do This on Monday action plan. If you're a shift worker, a medical professional heading into an on-call shift, or a parent facing a sleepless night, do not wake up and reach for a third cup of coffee. Instead, on Monday morning, prepare a single flask of warm water with 15 grams of creatine monohydrate and 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate. Sip this approximately 3 hours before your cognitive window is set to decline, and you are directly feeding your frontal lobe's phosphocreatine pool, preventing the logic processing crash without triggering the sympathetic panic that coffee causes.
Awesome, Dr. Yup. Thank you. I now have my ER protocol for acute brain health and recovery starting 3 hours for my shift tonight. So I'll put that into practice in just a few hours here, I guess. But we owe it to ourselves to stay honest and to steel man the other side. So, Dr. Scott, what would a serious critic say about all of this?
The classic steel man as part of our podcast here. So let's steel man the counter argument as we do. A conventional neurologist or clinical pharmacologist would point out several critical caveats here. First, they would argue that while a single dose of 0.2 to 0.35 grams per kilogram of creatine monohydrate improves logic, task, and reaction times, the 2026 study explicitly noted that short-term memory and fine motor processing speed did not show the same level of improvement. It is not a universal cognitive panacea. Secondly, they would warn that consuming 25 grams of creatine monohydrate in a single dose can cause significant osmotic water retention in the gut, leading to diarrhea, cramping, and nausea if the individual is not well hydrated or has a sensitive GI tract. Third, although creatine has an exemplary multi-decade safety profile, giving acute doses to individuals with unrecognized pre-existing kidney dysfunction could cause transient glomerular filtration rate spikes and kidney strain. Finally, a critic would rightly say that using creatine to bypass sleep deprivation at cognitive costs could lead to behavioral maladaptation. We know how this all goes, right? You give somebody the audience to take some sleep deprivation, where individuals use it as an excuse to ignore sleep hygiene, circadian rhythm entrainment, and the deep physiologic repair that only occurs during slow wave and REM sleep.
That is superb, Scott, and our response as health optimization practitioners is clear. We agree. Creatine is a biomimetic rescue tool for acute, unavoidable environmental mismatch, not a structural replacement for sleep. Sleep is an evolutionary mandate for glymphatic clearance of neurotoxic waste, such as amyloid beta and tau proteins. Creatine monohydrate cannot clear protein aggregates. It only maintains the energetic safety of the cells while they wait for repair. We do not use this to encourage chronic sleep deprivation. We use it to preserve cellular function when mismatch is temporary and inevitable.
All right, time for our take-home three. 3 clean, clippable takeaways. The kind that Dr. Scott can post between his hyperbaric sessions.
So, takeaway number 1. Sleep deprivation is not merely a subjective feeling of tiredness. It's an acute bioenergetic fuel crisis in the frontal lobe. When you're awake for 24 hours, your brain's phosphocreatine and ATP pools are depleted, leading to cellular acidification and executive functioning decline. Do not whip an exhausted horse with central stimulants. Feed the mitochondrial engines directly.
Takeaway number 2, a single oral dose of 0.2 to 0.3 grams per kilogram of creatine monohydrate taken 3 hours before acute sleep dead peaks and between hyperbaric sessions crosses the blood-brain barrier under stress conditions. It stabilizes the brain's high-energy phosphates, preserves neurologic networks, improves cognitive vigilance, and reasoning by up to 12% in just one sleepless night.
And takeaway number 3, acute creatine rescue is a molecular tool for unavoidable environmental mismatch. It is not a substitute for sleep. It preserves cell energy and holds down neuroinflammation in the short term, but it cannot do the glymphatic cleanup and structural repair that only deep sleep provides. So remember, use it as a shield, not an excuse.
As we draw to a close now, let's look at the difference between anti-aging medicine and health optimization medicine. Anti-aging medicine is often obsessed with lifespan, extending the chronological number of years, sometimes even by using toxic or off-label xenobiotic drugs that suppress vital cellular function just to lower single markers like glucose. And lifespan without healthspan is not the win. The target is not just longer quantity of life, the target is longer biological peak quality of life. In home, we neotenize your metabolomic subnetworks, meaning making them younger again, to the values they had when you were in your 20s, preserving the cellular safety and consonance that underpins your health span.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's contrast lifestyle medicine with health optimization medicine. Traditional lifestyle medicine is wonderful, but it prescribes lifestyle changes based on macroscopic disease markers or generic guidelines, telling everyone to sleep 8 hours or eat a generic diet. But lifestyle advice becomes precision medicine only when health markers guide the prescription. Home Hope does not prescribe lifestyle from disease markers, it prescribes lifestyle from cellular health markers. We run advanced metabolomics to measure organic acids, amino acids, mitochondrial metabolites in real time. By measuring your unique cellular baseline, we can prescribe bioidentical and biomimetic protocols like this acute creatine and magnesium rescue, tailored precisely to your cell's real-time metabolic stress states. This is salutogenesis in action, maintaining cellular energy, protecting cell function, and letting your health naturally emerge.
Well, if you're a practitioner, whether you're a physician, nurse, naturopath, chiropractor, or health coach, you want to move beyond disease management into the true frontier of health optimization, and you need to master clinical metabolomics and cellular bioenergetics. Do not rely on generic guidelines. Join us at Health Optimization Medicine and Practices Association and get certified at homehope.org to enroll in one of our comprehensive clinical training modules today. Learn to measure and balance the metabolome, optimize mitochondrial markers, and deliver true cell-level precision healthcare. That's homehope.org. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Health Optimization Medicine podcast. To our clinical team here, Dr. Ted, Dr. Alan, Dr. Jup, thank you for your incredible clinical insights today. If you like this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe. We will see you all next week. Stay optimized.